Okay, good evening and welcome to the April 7th, 2025 meeting of the Radnor Planning Commission. We'll begin the meeting by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March 3, 2025 meeting. These minutes were distributed to the commissioners in advance of today. Do any of the commissioners have any changes to the minutes? Okay, if none, I would ask for a motion to approve.
I do have a comment on a couple of the minutes.
Okay, yes.
So just, now I can't, of course, see it. On the final three entries, the votes are stated as approving or granting, and it should be recommend granting of the waivers and recommend approving of the last two. So I would recommend that the word recommend be added.
Understood. Could I have a motion then?
So moved, with the recommendations of the solicitor to change the wording from recommending to, changing the wording from approve to recommend approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kim. Sorry. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay. Next item agenda is consideration of zoning hearing board appeal number 3210. Here the applicant seeks to construct the Welcome Center / bookstore building on the Villanova campus in the area south side of Lancaster Avenue, adjacent to the existing pedestrian bridge. Three variances are sought. Number one, the building will span the PI planned institutional CO commercial office district. Applicant seeks special exceptions in the CO district under section 280-101A1, 280-101A2 to change one nonconforming use of a dormitory to another nonconforming use for retail bookstore, and to expand the nonconforming use by no more than 50%. Two, applicant requests variance of section 280-123B to place the lettering for the naming of the building above the arch which spans the roadway. Three, in the alternative, if necessary, applicant seeks a variance from section 280-42 of the zoning code for the proposed use of the building or such other relief required in accordance with the exhibits and testimony presented at the zoning hearing. Is there a representative for the applicant?
Evening, Nick Cornelia, representing the applicant on
Good
this
evening.
matter. As has been stated, this is a zoning application. It's before the board because it will be a land development if approved by zoning. The board's going to have a couple opportunities to see this, as we'll discuss during the presentation. The Welcome Center University shop is planned near the pedestrian bridge on the south side of Lancaster, as you see from the rendering that we're looking at here. Currently, the students, when they arrive on campus to visit campus, prospective students, they park in this area where there's parking lots. They cross the pedestrian bridge. They go to Austin Hall, the basement of Austin Hall. Austin Hall is in the middle of campus, about a quarter of a mile from this site, and it's a basement area. So it's an older area, and what Villanova is looking to do here is to have a better and more impressive operation for the greeting of their students and prospective students on campus. Right now, as I mentioned, it's in the basement of Austin Hall, which is a former worship area on campus. And actually, the bookstore is located in St. Mary's Hall, which is on the northern edge of campus, right by the Amtrak station as you lead into West Campus. That is actually the former worship hall where it's located now. That's where the university shop / bookstore is located currently. We're intending to combine this, as you see in this rendering here, on campus. You'll see that you'll see the aerial view here as to where it's located on campus. And then we also have a focused in aerial view showing the current conditions. 3 buildings would be removed to accommodate the first building, Moriarty Hall, which is currently a dormitory use, which is a non-conforming use in the zoning district. There's 2 other buildings that are currently used for office use by the university. They would also be removed as well. As I mentioned, the rendering shows a spanning St. Thomas Way here, which is the existing roadway by the pedestrian bridge. What is unique about this is the fact that it spans 2 zoning districts, and that's why we're before the zoning hearing board. The first zoning district, you see the line there, that's the PI zoning district. That this use is permitted in the PI zoning district. We will be asking the Board of Commissioners for a conditional use to expand the existing CICD to this small area. That's not before this board this evening. It's not before the zoning board. But again, you're going to see that one when we apply for the conditional use. It'll be back before the Planning Commission for that review. The other side is the CO zoning district, which is commercial office zoning district. Commercial office does not permit a retail use. It also does not permit a dormitory. Currently, there's a dormitory located on this site. So the request before the zoning hearing board is that we're requesting a special exception to convert one nonconforming use, the dormitory, to another nonconforming use, which is a university shop, which is a retail type use. We're also asking the board to expand that use by no more than 50%. It is also permitted in the code by special exception. So that is what it will be before the zoning hearing board, will be a special exception to convert one nonconforming use to another nonconforming use, as well as a special exception to increase the existing nonconformity. You'll see here, you saw that previous photo, that we comply with all the zoning requirements, all the dimensional requirements. The only thing that we're requesting is the nonconformity regarding the existing use and the expansion of the nonconforming use. Therefore, that is a special exception. This exhibit here shows basically the usage in each side. We're talking about one building. As we said, there's a span. It goes across. The archway goes across St. Thomas Way. On the right-hand side, we have the university shop, which is a retail use, again, which is permitted in the PI zoning district. There's a breakdown as to the square footage for that use. On the CO zoning, we have both the Welcome Center and the university shop. Welcome Center being permitted use as an office use, the university shop needing the special exception. This exhibit also shows that we're not increasing the nonconformity by more than 50%. We can look at the elevations again that we have here. You'll see that the first elevation is if your back is toward Lancaster Avenue, and there's proposed signage above the archway. I don't know if this board needs to determine that, because it's not really a land development issue, but since it's part of the zoning application, we've included it here as to what is being located. And the only thing that we really need relief for there, again, it's not the size of the sign, it's just that it would be higher than the 15-foot requirement because it'd be over the archway. Some of the other elevations, as you'll see, that's the west elevation and the south elevation, and again, the east elevation of the building. It's going to be similar to all the other buildings, the pedestrian bridge that Villanova has constructed in recent years. We have met with neighbors on 3 separate locations where this project's been discussed. It also has been presented to the Board of Commissioners as part of the long-range development plan that Villanova presented to the board, I believe, a couple weeks ago. So that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at some sort of recommendation the board sees fit to the zoning hearing board regarding the 2 special exceptions that we are requesting. Frank Tavani's also here if he needs to testify or fill you in on the traffic issue. We feel this is basically no increase in traffic. It's the same people coming in the same area, parking in the same spot. And actually, it may be better in that now that we're combining the 2 uses, the university shop and the welcome center, that cars would not be leaving that site to go to the bookstore site, current bookstore site, university shop site, which is on Sproul Road, up by the Amtrak bridge there.
Mr. Drummond, do you have any comments or concerns?
We have not reviewed this application yet, so I will hold my comments to land development right now.
Okay. And Mr. Phillips, is the same for you?
Yeah, we're not asked to opine on zoning applications.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any comments or concerns?
Yeah, so just, good evening. Just for clarification, the retail use that's contemplated here, is this going to be, the university shop as exists today will not exist?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So this will be general merchandise as well as books?
Yeah, and I've been told that, of course, it does include books, but I don't know if books are really used that much anymore on the college level. I believe a lot of things are online.
It's
now.
been a while for me.
Yeah,
so.
exactly, me too. Yeah.
Is there a sense of what percentage of the retail traffic, and I do mean physical folks, are internal to Villanova, and what percentage is from the outside walking into the current bookshop today? The reason why I'm asking is how much additional traffic
Right.
will occur from the community and what the impact would be.
Right. I know now there is some traffic. Remember, the bookstore, university shop used to be located in the middle of campus at Kennedy Hall. This now is located, as I mentioned, over by St. Mary's, and now it'll be located here. I believe, Frank, where's Frank? Did you consider that, Frank, or?
So I actually, hello.
Introduce yourself.
Yes, Frank Tavani, traffic engineer for the university. I actually personally made observations of activity at the existing bookstore. I did it at times before and after the tours had started on a day that was a known busy day for tours. And you could identify parents and student prospects because, excuse me, they were not wearing backpacks. And you could obviously see that there was an older individual with a younger individual, and you can time it relative to when the tours had started or ended. And it was pretty easy to see that they were part of those tours. Conversely, there were also some younger people who were going in and out, usually carrying book bags, and you could assume that they were part of the Villanova community. I didn't really see anyone else that didn't fit either of those categories, and I certainly didn't interview anybody to ask, are you part of the Villanova community, or were you just driving by and decided that, you wanted a candy bar or a sweatshirt? And that's really what goes on here. I don't know if you ever have been in St. Mary's Hall at the existing bookstore. First of all, it's beautiful. Secondly, it's mainly a clothing store as well as a component for books, and a very small component for, like impulse items, something to drink, something to eat, a snack. Although the new facility will be larger than the existing facility, and it will be on a roadway that does have more traffic, I think it's extremely unlikely that anybody is going to be driving by, for example, and say, well, I'd like to stop in and get a high-priced candy bar, because that really is sort of what it comes down to. If somebody does do that, this is probably the best location for that to happen on the Villanova campus, because it's immediately adjacent to the signalized intersection of St. Thomas and Lancaster, which has tremendous reserve capacity. It's one of the newer signalized intersections. It mainly just has two phases where either it's just the Main Street phase or the side street phase, which is usually not triggered very often, operates at level of service A. And if anybody is going in either direction and decides to make a pass-by trip to buy a book, a sweater, or a candy bar, that's probably the best location to do it without burdening existing traffic.
So the attached parking, I would imagine, would not be monitored in the same way that other parking in Villanova would be, correct? Because you're expecting visitor traffic. Visitor traffic is not going to be registered.
So it's my understanding that the parents and student prospects are instructed to park in L2 or L3, wherever they can find an available space. I do not know the logistics of whether or not they're given temporary permits or if they register their license plates. They very well may do that. Those parking lots are routinely patrolled by campus security. And I do know, for example, there is some temporary contractor parking going on there as part of the improvements that are taking place elsewhere on campus. And I know those license plates are registered so that they aren't accidentally ticketed, which would be unfortunate for the contractors. I would imagine they would do something similar for the parents, but I can't speak to that.
Yeah, so my concern is, obviously, there's now 2 off-campus locations that are going to be consolidating into your system. Certainly for Cabrini, students are allowed to park on that campus today, or it's probably contemplated. At least that was your presentation to the BOC. When there is attached parking there, my concern is that perhaps you're going to see some student traffic that would park there, and they would take up spaces for visitors. So, have you looked at that?
Hi, good evening. Chris Kowalski with Villanova. In that same presentation, the question came up as well. You know, if we have students who are able to bring their cars to Cabrini and we disincentivize them from using their cars on a daily basis to come back and forth to Villanova, we're really driving people toward the shuttles that we're going to be operating. Then it comes down to enforcement. So if they are allowed to bring their car to Cabrini, they have to register their car, which means we know their license plates. We have very active license plate, LPRs, license plate recognition systems on our parking attendant vehicles. So there'll be constant monitoring. And I think in the presentation, our Director of Public Safety who oversees parking was mentioning, envisioning, I think he used the word draconian responses to those kinds of incidents. So in short order, the punitive nature of that would really escalate. So disincentivizing students from parking there. So we're invested in making sure that this parking remains as it's meant, which is to suit these uses, just as much as we know the community is interested in that as well.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Please.
What's the difference in size? The 3 buildings that you're removing and then the new building, do you have the difference in size there?
I don't know if we should have something on, maybe on the site plan would have.
No, it's,
Go ahead.
George DeBregard, Robert Stern Architects. The retail portion of this building is slightly larger than the existing, or the Kennedy School Hall retail that was the bookstore and Welcome Center that has then been relocated to St. Mary's Hall. That temporary condition, I don't have the size of its.
Right, and we know that the retail portion is approximately a little less than 50% larger than current Moriarty, but that's not taken into consideration the 2 other halls which would be removed also. And
Those 2 other halls are
office use, yeah,
So you're just comparing
right,
existing non-conforming to what the new non-conforming.
correct. The other 2 buildings are currently used by the university for office-type uses.
Once the new building with the new purpose is constructed, what is going to be the number of dedicated parking spots in the rear?
I built this on one of the plans.
Sorry, the number of.
I mean, parking spaces
Parking
for,
spots in the back.
Oh, that's.
for this site, how many spaces?
Yeah, I mean. the
We
real
have it in
concern- So the real concern is obviously in the fall or in August, September, as well as January when the semester starts. So what type of additional traffic is going to be pulling into the bookstore off of Lancaster Avenue? Will there be any backup on Lancaster Avenue pulling into the site? The practical
Right.
questions.
Yeah, I believe there's a decel lane there.
Yes.
Yep. And so there would really, there would be no backup because St. Thomas Way is, relatively long roadway that permits it. We will have 136 parking spaces in this area, kind of devoted somewhat, to multiple uses, including this use. And right now, at least as to the prospective students, they're coming in here and parking in these lots anyway, and then going elsewhere on campus, walking, or even driving right now to the university shop over at St. Mary's.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on that. So with the Cabrini acquisition, now the Rosemont, certainly when you presented in front of the BOC, there is going to be some enrollment growth, certainly attributed to Cabrini. About 250 a year was sort of the presentation, and now with Rosemont. With the visitor center, I would imagine that the number of visitors will increase since the potential for enrollment will also increase. Have you studied that out and make sure that you have enough ground level parking that's dedicated to the visitor center as well as the retail, sort of to project it into the future with the additional capacity that you're gaining?
We believe we have the right number of parking spots to support these uses. Two of the buildings that we're taking away, those people that work in those buildings will no longer be parking there, so that contributes to the availability of parking. We don't contemplate an increase in visitors, so we're building a new, bigger building to support visitors, but we don't expect an increase in visitors. This is a newer resource, better serves the people that are already coming. So we typically get about 25,000 visiting prospective students a year, and we expect that number to be the same. That has been consistent going back through prior to COVID. In order to achieve the enrollment growth that we discussed, which is roughly 200 to 50 students a year for the next 4 years, not this year, but the following year and then subsequently. We believe we have more capable students that we can offer admission to. So it's not necessarily accurate that we expect an increase in visitors or applications.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other commissioner comment or question? No. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak? Okay, seeing none. Can I have a motion to, Can I have a motion to recommend approval by the zoning hearing board?
So moved.
Second? Second by Commissioner Brubaker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item agenda for consideration is the sewage facilities planning module for the new Ithan Elementary. Here, the applicant has prepared a sewage facilities planning module to be submitted to the PADEP. Applicant is proposing construction of a new elementary school with a larger student capacity to replace the existing elementary school. Component 4A must be completed by the Township Planning Commission prior to the planning module submission being adopted by resolution at a Board of Commissioners meeting. First question, is there anyone for the applicant here? No. Okay. Mr. Phillips, did you have anything further to add?
No, this is pretty straightforward.
Good. Does any member of the Planning Commission have any question or comment? Okay. Any member of the public wish to speak on this? Good. Okay, can I have a motion that we allow me to execute the planning module so it can be forwarded to the township engineer?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Nat. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
I have to speak.
Sorry.
I should speak up. I have my hand.
Okay.
Skip wants to get in on the action, he wants to second something.
He'll get the next second.
We heard you, Skip. Thank you.
Okay, I will execute the module and provide it to the township engineer. The next agenda item is consideration of application 212578 at 101 Sproul Road, lot line change. Here the applicant proposes to subdivide an existing lot into two smaller lots. There are no building other improvements proposed at this time. As part of our consideration, we've received letters from Gannett Fleming dated March 26, 2025, and from Gilmore and Associates dated March 17, 2025. And it looks like we have a representative for the applicant.
Yeah, hi, my name is Philip Neal. I'm with House Surveying. I'm the professional that drafted up this plan and performed the survey and the design of this subdivision. What we look at here is a unique shaped property, to say the least. There is a big long curve on the easterly side that kind of comes into play. There's also an existing driveway, an access easement for the neighboring lots to the east side that kind of cuts through and bisects this property as is naturally. So the applicant is proposing to subdivide off that northeasterly corner into a vacant lot that will be developed in the future for a residential home and remain the existing house down here. And we'll basically make use of that area, other side of the driveway that currently is just kind of like no man's land where they have it now. The idea was to try to maximize that lot as big as we can, but due to the nature of this lot in the back here, we had to remain with 2 acres minimum in order to get it because of the flag lot nature of it. To get as much land as we could in Lot 2, which it all conforms with the zoning regulations and everything. So the only issues with the review ledgers coming up would be, the first one would be showing all improvements within 500 feet of the site. We would like to ask for a waiver from that, just because getting access to everybody's property, within 500 feet to shoot their houses, driveways, comes a little bit much. The other option would be providing aerial photography, which anybody can really pull off of Google or anything at this nature, which will show you the same details and everything that we would provide. So that would be the first waiver that we would ask for, and the second one was to show all trees 6 inches and above. Since we're only dealing with the Lot 2, we are proposing to hold that off till the development of Lot 2. At the time, they're going to show all trees at the, for any permit plan that they put in, go in front of the Shade Tree Commission and everything, and, hammer that out with whatever replacement they need. And besides that, I think, and the other thing was the sewer connection, which we're still waiting on feedback and hearing back from the municipal authorities and whatnot to get our sewer permit there.
Okay. So this is being subdivided so that you can eventually build on the new lot?
Correct, to be a residential, yes.
Okay. Do you have any further information of what you're planning to do on that lot?
We do not yet, no.
Okay. Do you have a timeline of when you think you're going to do it?
That'd be up to the applicant. Proposed to sell that off to a developer, so it would be in the hands of the developer as to when and what they build.
Okay. Mr. Phillips, do you have anything to add or question?
I do not. They reviewed the couple of waivers that I had suggested in my letter.
Okay. And Mr. Drummond, do you have anything to add? Or?
I do not.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have questions or comment?
Yeah. You were here back in September, I believe, and there was a discussion around a right-of-way that was sort of somewhat unclear, and I think the takeaway was to work through that.
Correct.
Could you just kind of recap that?
Yeah, so at the time, in the deed of record for our property, way back when this first got developed, it went through many iterations of subdivisions till what the current, neighborhood around it is today. But it was a larger property, and at one point, they prepared to keep Quaker Lane all the way down this S-curve to, service and create a road for all these properties. That never happened. We followed up with the solicitor to ensure that there is no public rights to the extension of Quaker Lane. They came back and told us, hey, we don't have a road here, so therefore we at least got that hammered out, because that's kind of what, stopped us from before. So we got that taken care of to ensure that there is no public rights and no public road there right away.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry, I'm involved in this one too, and I was involved with the public road issue. Okay, right, Peter? Okay.
Nick can probably answer the question about the right-of-way too as well.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any other commissioner comment or question? Yes.
So the new proposed lot, the access to that would be off of the shared driveway that goes back to the...
No, it would be off of Quaker Lane. So you have a little bit of...
Oh, off the back, oh.
Yeah, off of Quaker Lane, because you do have that road frontage there.
Okay.
And that would eliminate having to come off of Sproul Road, obviously, would be a detriment to try to pull out of that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So this is very low volume. There's very few homes off of Woodstone. So the increased volume coming out of the road, you would never even notice.
Okay, any other comment or question? Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak? Come on up and state your name and address.
Good evening. Richard Weitzman, 84 Woodstone Lane. So we live at the end of the cul-de-sac. Is this something? We live right at the end here. So I didn't quite understand. The right-of-way was one of my questions. Even hearing that explanation, I don't think I still understand where that right-of-way would have existed. And I don't know if it's appropriate for me to ask questions or not.
It came down here initially, but it was never used, it was vacated, well, it was never used, was never open. So as a result, Pennsylvania statute states that when a road has never been open, that basically does not exist. And so that's why it ends here. And obviously, you still have Woodstone, that's still a public road coming down off of Sproul on the Woodstone, that's still a public road, it still exists. Where initially it came down somewhere in this area, I believe, correct, probably down, it went all the way down. And since it's never been open, it basically is automatically vacated.
So it would have run along, I think it's 97 Woodstone is here.
Right. It came down, it would have run along this width, like this.
Right.
So the area,
In the center of it,
yeah, the deed and everything here is basically half of that old paper road.
Okay, thank you. That definitely helps, although I have a hard time visualizing what that would look like. So I don't necessarily have any concerns, and as long as they're proposing to build as of right, I wouldn't object as a neighbor. That is a heavily treed lot at the end of our street, and I know one of the waivers is to not show those trees now, kick that can down the road, let somebody else worry about it. I would ask this commission to consider denying that request so that we can start addressing trees. I personally haven't heard any any work being done, but I have heard from other neighbors that they are in the process of starting to remove some trees from that lot. Maybe it's just rumor, I don't know, but if that's the case, then I think it's even more important that we see what those trees would look like. So I'm looking at the GNA memo, March 17th, 2025, and under Saldo comments, it speaks to Sproul Road being classified as an arterial. Oh, never mind. That's something for the township to consider. Okay. Is there anyone, can I ask about what the restrictions in the deed book are? It was in the title report, which was an attachment to the application. Do we know what those restrictions refer to?
I looked at it, Rich. I didn't see anything that affected any of this. I know there is a title report. It should be online, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just references the restrictions, but it didn't, there was no link to click in to find it. And I think there was a deed restriction or in favor of the grantor that I caught.
One thing, and I'll get back to that question, but on the trees, any grading permit obviously would have to go to shade tree. So that was really the reason, since there's no immediate plans to develop this lot, that we felt, you're right, kicking it down the road to whoever would develop it, if it does get developed, that they would have to identify where the building envelope would be and what trees would be removed, and that would be part of the grading permit application. As to that particular restriction, yeah.
I know, while you're looking, are trees being removed at this point?
Why don't you come on up? Remember to identify yourself.
Hi, my name's Richard Cole. I'm the landowner at 101. Not anywhere in the subdivided two. We had a rotted locust less than 19 inches in diameter that we had Chris Arader and his company come through to help us remove so it didn't fall on our house or the pool in the opposite way, especially with these storms with significant winds. We were really concerned about that. So we did have some tree work done, but it was a matter of safety and done through proper licensed professionals, and it was not on the proposed lot 2.
And just to follow up, you don't have any plans right now to do any additional tree work?
The only potential exception, Sarah Chang owns 107 South Spring Mill Road. She's our immediate neighbor. She was concerned about some rotted locusts that were either partially on ours or partially on hers, and so we each had tree people, and we're working together to review, like, if there's anything that needed to be, again, safety related to falling, on our fence line or something like that. But so it's not, we don't have any development plans for the second lot at all. It's our intention, frankly, to sell it if we can get through the approval process. But that's all.
Okay.
And just for the record, if you are going to remove any dead and dying trees, you will file the hazardous tree reports and follow all.
Right. That's why we want to go through the licensed tree removal people, so that way we get all the correct things taken care of. We're not just trying to do anything half-cocked.
Sure. So with respect to the lot itself, and I know there was mention that, you can just pull a Google Earth picture. It is a very heavily wooded lot on Google Earth. So it is a waiver. The all distinguishing features within 500 feet. It is a waiver that we normally would grant, but I think to pull an image from satellite or an overhead image would be difficult, especially when trees are in leaf.
So when you say for the 500 feet, that wouldn't be necessarily the area within the trees. We did a physical survey of the area in the trees, so everything is shown improvement-wise in there except trees. So are you saying for the 500 feet, You want a physical survey of everything?
No, we just
I'm not
normally
saying
include
that.
an aerial. Yeah, that's what we were saying in
Yeah,
the past.
the aerial is, it's hard to tell what you're looking at with the
Yeah,
aerial.
yeah, exactly, right.
So,
And I did not, the restriction that Rich, I probably have it online on the computer. I don't have it in the file.
Yeah, we can
I did not, yeah, and I'll provide it, and I'm sure it had nothing to do with this because I would have caught it and
Yeah,
flagged
I
it.
reviewed the title report when I
Yeah.
did the survey to ensure there is no exceptions that would, hinder this development.
I just have one more comment. So I'll speak to that driveway coming out onto Quaker Lane. I'm sorry, the surveyor made a comment that, the preference is to come out onto Quaker and then out onto Sprawl, but the comment was nonsensical to me in the sense that they're currently using that driveway to gain access to Sprawl Road. So to the extent that that driveway comes onto Quaker, I guess they may have some steep slope issues to contend with to get that driveway open, but it strikes me that right off the bat, there's a driveway right there that exists, and I don't know why it would be necessary to come out onto Quaker Lane, but that's my 2 cents.
That's the share, just to that's the shared driveway that currently exists that goes to
To
101
the-
Sprawl and 101 Spring, all those.
Correct. Yeah, it runs, I guess, somewhat parallel, tangential to Quaker Lane in that spot, but yeah, behind it. So.
I'll comment on that. So currently, right now, you have 3 properties accessing that shared drive. I'm pretty sure if you were to add a 4th one, it would be non-conforming and thus would need zoning variances, whereas approaching Quaker Lane with a driveway would be by right and not need a variance.
I don't think it would be a zoning variance.
Would it be?
I think it would be a waiver.
Would it be a waiver? Okay.
Right, solicitor or township engineer?
Yes.
And then we'd also have the permission from the 3 easement holders, which would, again, be another added hurdle to the project.
Okay. Do we know who owns does 101 Sprawl owns that easement?
Well, it's a shared easement between.
There's 2 properties behind us.
Yes.
Yeah,
that,
correct.
Have the
Access
right.
rights.
Yeah, to get to their house.
But I guess the question is, but that roadway is defined on 101's deed?
Which roadway?
The driveway,
So
the
the
shared
easement
driveway.
is on the deed, right? So they've got a right to access, and so if we burden it, then they would have to approve of additional burden on the easement.
Would you mind coming up? I just want to preserve this for the 2 people that are
apologize.
watching.
I'm talking from my seat there. So there's 2 houses behind, right? And our deed has the easement so they can access on the current driveway. And it's my understanding, I've got a lawyer and an engineer here, but it's my understanding that if we were to have the cut-in from the existing driveway that cuts across my property currently, that we would have to get their permission and potentially amend deeds to allow for that easement to be burdened by additional access.
Okay.
I don't know if I agree with that as a lawyer, but that's not my
Well, we
job
have
here.
another one on staff, and he's waiting to say something.
Yeah.
Solicitor?
Yes, I agree with the applicant. I've seen the deed, I've read the language. The deed doesn't allow the Coles property, which this new lot will be created out of, isn't in favor of the Coles property. The Coles property is subservient to the other 2 properties under that deed. So I would agree that we would have to amend the language of the easement, and the 2 holders of that easement would have to agree to it in order for that to happen.
Okay. I stand correct. All right. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public who wish to speak? Okay, if you would, please state your name and address.
My name is Richard Cogshell. I live at 801 Quaker Lane. We are the only house on Quaker Lane. We're here kind of on a defensive, this is our first exposure to what's happening in that lot or on the lot across from us. The pickup about driveways, we have 2 driveways, and there's a neighbor who's really on Woodstone, but his driveway also exits onto Quaker Lane. So in my view, you're dealing with 3 driveways, and we don't know with this development where this property is going to have their driveway, assuming it's going to be coming out on Quaker Lane. And I guess we're looking for some determination as to what the game plan is with the new builder or the new tenant. I understand they live across the street from the road behind us. And we were told that possibly that's where the driveway would be. But since about this time last spring, there is a considerable amount of trees that are being removed. I have pictures of them because we were having trees removed on our property. I got to talking with the tree removal people, and they said they'd be back. And there's some trees that were taken off of the property. There's some smaller trees that have been cut up for possibly the firewood for the next property that's going to be built there. I can't add too much more other than we really would like to have some clarification as to what's going to be happening on that lot that is going to affect our home on Quaker Lane. That's it.
The issue is that they haven't made an application for development yet. It's only subdivision. So it's hard to know what they would do, and they haven't marketed and sold the property to a developer.
Well, that's another concern. I met the father of the couple who own the property that's going to be sold, and they're supposedly moving on to the property that's now the wooded property. And as I said, with the activity that was going on through the spring of last year as well as early summer, and then it just stopped.
Can you provide names, sir?
I'm sorry?
Can you provide names, who you met, who you're talking with?
The tree company, I have their names.
No, you said you talked to the
Wood,
father of someone?
Wood. The daughter's name is
Could you
Wood.
come up to the microphone if you're going to engage? Go ahead.
Whatever driveway they put in is going to have to comply with whatever ordinances are in effect at that time, and they're going to comply with the ordinances as to the driveway for that lot. I really think it's a non-issue, but I'll let the board decide.
You don't live there.
Well, from a legal standpoint, I'm referring.
Okay.
Well, I don't have anything else to say at this point.
At this point, understood.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public who wish to speak? Okay. Any other commissioner comment?
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. The applicant has wisely decided to handle things one at a time. Obviously, in front of us is a lot subdivision application. It's pretty obvious that the Lot 2 is going to be developed. However, we don't have much of standing to consider where the driveway placement will be at this time until we see the land development application. The code does allow us to request that the applicant provide all features within 500 feet. The code also allows us to request that the applicant map out every tree on both lots. I think it would be not customary for us to do that. And I feel that the applicant has at least attempted to comply with all applicable laws with respect to tree removal, and will continue to do so. That's my only comment.
Okay, thank you. With that, can I have a motion? So moved.
In the matter of lot subdivision at 101 Sproul Road, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the application.
Okay, is that with the waiver of section 255-20B1?
Yes, recommend granting both waivers.
Okay, and for clarification, that would be section 255-20.B1N and section 255-22B1R. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Commissioner Kunda seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, the last agenda item is consideration of application 214095 for preliminary final land development at 800 Lancaster Avenue. This is the Villanova University Connolly Center expansion. Here, the applicant proposes to expand the existing building while maintaining the existing uses. The project includes expansion of the existing Connolly Center to include an additional 14,608 square foot space within the two-story additions for similar uses as the existing building. As part of our consideration, we've received letters from Gannett Fleming dated March 26, 2025, from Gilmore Associates dated March 28, 2025, and it looks like we have a representative for the applicant.
Yes, Nick Canilia, representing the applicant, Mike Roth from Pannoni as well. And this is a approximately 7,300 square foot footprint addition to an existing building. It's the Conley Center, which is really their student center on campus. As I mentioned, a very small addition. You can see from the rendering, it is a two-story addition. It complies with all the height requirements, complies with all the setback requirements of the zoning code. As I said, you have the rendering here, and as you probably know, it's located in the middle of campus. We can show the campus map. And as you see there in the project site area, basically in the middle of campus, probably thousands of feet from any neighbors where it's going to be located. Basically, it's a rehab of an existing building. Conley Center was built over 40 years ago, I believe in the early 1980s. Basically, it's just an ability for the school to update their dining and meeting area for the students' existing population on campus. Mike will go into more detail on the plans, and then we'll just go through the review letters. There's 3 requests for waivers. 1, the features within 500 feet. 2, the traffic impact study. This is similar to the library where a traffic impact study was not required since we're dealing with existing student population. And finally, that due to the small scope of the project, a waiver on the preliminary final issue that treat this as a final plan. So Mike, if you want to go through the plan.
How you doing? Mike Roth from Pannoni. We're the civil engineer for the project. Just giving you a quick overview. I know Nick mentioned where this is on site. Just for context, for those that may not be familiar, in the center of the page is Villanova University. North is up on the page. Along the south side is Lancaster Avenue. The east side is Ithan Avenue. West side is Spring Mill Road. And then the north is the SEPTA Amtrak tracks, as well as County Line Road. As Nick pointed out, the Connolly Center is pretty central to campus. It's shown here in the rectangular box on the screen. And moving into the proposed plan, there's an addition. It's 2 parts that come off the back or the north side of the existing building, totaling about 7,300 square feet. They are 2 stories, as Nick mentioned. The site improvements consist of the additions themselves and reconfiguring the pavers that currently lead up to the building to come up to their new doorways. There are no roadway, sidewalk, curb improvements associated with this, no proposed parking. Really minimal site improvements related to this use. There was a few comments in the review letter. We can touch on them quickly, and then we can get into detail about all of them. One was about the parking, so there was a comment in Gannett's review letter about how we came up with the proposed parking count. The latest one that they had on file was the HSB garage. Since then, in October and November, Villanova has submitted a grading permit to add 9 spaces to St. Mary's. So that's where our total comes from. The note at the bottom of the table speaks to that. So that's where our existing total parking count comes from. The second comment to touch on is about circulation during construction. And we put together an exhibit here. So the library is currently under construction. This project, when it goes to construction, will be going on at the same time. So between the two sites, everything from sort of the west of this existing garage through here is going to be blocked off by the library construction, and we will be blocking off the circle as part of the Connolly Center construction. So what we're showing here is how pedestrians and vehicles would get around through campus via alternate routes. So closing off the circle would really just eliminate the 2 entryways on Connolly Center that exist today. So those pedestrians would be able to walk along the east side of the building and through one of the other 3 entrances to the building. Vehicular traffic shown in the light blue color would be able to come in, still access the garage. That would not be blocked off. They would be able to come in north of the garage and continue to Spring Mill. There was a comment in the review letter about a shuttle stop which exists in the circle. 2 alternate locations for that would be next to the tennis court, which is on the north side of the plan up here, or next to the guard shack, and those shuttles would be able to come and go via Ithan Avenue, or again, continue up through Spring Mill and continue on their way. So those were the 2 comments that we figured warranted a little bit more explanation, and I think Nick was going to go through the remainder of the letter.
So referencing the waivers, and actually, Damon pointed out from Gilmore, pointed out that one of the requests for the waiver, we had the wrong section number down for the 500 foot. We had 20A, and it should be 20B. So that was one item, and I don't know, we may need to correct that on the plan. I'm not certain if it was indicated as that on the plan or not. We mentioned that, I'm looking at the Gannett Fleming letter. Breakdown of existing proposed building impervious coverage. We can provide that. Roger, are you looking for all full campus on that one? We have it, or are you just looking for this area? Breakdown of existing and proposed building and impervious
Typically
coverage?
both. On the previous land development plans, you've been kind of keeping a running tally of the
Okay.
entire campus, so just add on to the next,
Okay. The additional spaces, it is basically the other space is just general meeting space, so to speak. So that's why we applied the 1 per 300. Hasn't really been determined exactly how it would be used. It's just going to be general meeting space for the existing students on campus. So that was, we used the catch-all of 1 per 300 on that.
Mr. Cornelia, just to clarify, this addition, sorry to butt in here, but the addition is just meeting space and office?
No, it's also a food service too. There's a kitchen, the left side of the addition is actually a kitchen.
Okay.
And then the rest of it is meeting space and office.
So what prompted some of that, comment number 2 there, Nick, was the township has been getting calls from contractors about building permits and processes to construct a Wawa inside the building.
Great.
So obviously that's more than a cafe, that's more than a small food use.
Yeah,
So
it would be, yeah. One, there's been no agreement reached on that, but it is a food service type use, and that's where the kitchen area comes in. All right, so everything else is still really the same. The Connolly Center currently is a dining area, and it still will be a dining type area. And just that, the additional space to the right, the additional addition, that would be as we said, meeting space and office. Go ahead,
Right,
Nick.
and those breakdowns of square footage would help with the parking calculation.
So Roger, the spaces in the building where Nick is talking about a kitchen, it's an expansion of our food service area within Conley Center. Currently, we are looking at, we've designed it as a Wawa, but it's a Wawa to serve, it's a Wawa to serve Villanova. We do not have an agreement yet with Wawa, so it is really more of a convenience store, that kind of an application, where you're going in, you're ordering your food, just like we do in the Bel Air Terrace, but it's going to be that. And then there's another food venue that will be a sushi area. So that's, that other addition, the little square on the left side, is really more to support those operations. So it's not like we'll be using Villanova dollars and meal point equivalents and things like that. So it will be just to serve. It'll be the first one, if there is a Wawa there, that will be a camp, like a college campus franchise, them being there, and they'll try to do it in other spots. But it will not, I don't see it driving public to go to this Wawa, that's interior to our campus in a building.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
no gas pumps? I
Pardon?
assume- No
No
gas pumps?
No gas pumps.
Okay.
No
Just wanted
gas
to be
pumps.
sure.
A small, I'm not sure how many square feet, it might be like 4,000 square feet or something like that.
That was my comment to her,
Yeah.
too, when I first heard it. I said, no gas pumps, right?
It wouldn't be the first
Not
time.
today.
Charging stations.
We've discussed
No,
this.
so it's really a convenience store that we're trying to mimic a Wawa.
But you're saying that it would only accept Villanova dollars? Nobody with cash or a credit card could
No, credit card will be accepted as well, but mainly it's for our students, so they can use their what do we
I don't know
call?
what mainly means.
Pardon me?
I'm not exactly sure how you're going to
No,
make it mainly. If I live on County Line Road, it's
And
the
you wanna
closest
walk- and you
Wawa-
wanna- and
it's
you
the
wanna-
closest Wawa to me, how are you
So here's-
deterring me from going there?
I wouldn't deter you at all. You could come and spend your money at our university. However,
you're-
you'd probably.
you are
you'd ha-
encouraging outsiders.
No, but you would have to park you'd have to park off campus at the I-1 garage, which if you don't have, you're going to have to pay to park in order to walk over to the Conley Center to go use the Wawa. So it's not like you'll be able to go through the main gate and say, I'm going to go use the Wawa, can I park somewhere? We will not, we can't support that.
All right, just to clarify, when I go to the gate and I say I want to go to the Connolly Center, he says, go ahead, and he tells me where to park.
Hopefully he doesn't.
I'm telling you, he does.
Okay.
I think he has.
Okay.
That's
All
the
right.
point.
I could, if you want pictures of me where I parked, I could send those to you,
That's
yes,
fair.
he does.
That's fair.
So I have a
just to
question,
confirm-
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. President, only that a 4,000 square foot Wawa is probably bigger than the Wawa on Morris Road. So it's not like a boutique Wawa. I just
I think that's what it is on the drawings. Is it?
bringing that up.
Yes. But that includes the back of house. I'm sorry. The square footage.
Still think it's bigger than the one on Morris Avenue.
I was going to say, the one on Morris includes they don't bring in coffee from somewhere else, they make it all there. So if it's 4,000, if that's bigger than Morris, that's bigger than Morris, including back of house.
So,
Okay.
go ahead.
Let me just ask a quick question. For the Villanova meal plans, are those able to, cards or whatnot, can they be used at establishments that are outside of the campus?
It's not, I think what they can use is they have, it's Nova Bucks.
Right.
So-
Can they use Nova Bucks?
They can use that in certain areas, certain retail spots will support the Nova Buck.
Do you know if you're able to use those at the other Wawa locations, like the one over?
I don't think so.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that is a supporter of the Nova Buck.
Okay. I guess one question that, we've kind of discussed is the idea of where is, especially with Cabrini, Rosemont, are these going to have additional draws into campus for a facility like this?
I think it will support students that come from Cabrini to our campus. So as we've spoken before, the Cabrini campus is an extension of Villanova campus. Students will be coming back and forth via the shuttle, but the Cabrini campus is going to have, nice amenities there as well. There's a building there that is a student center, which will have food options, and a new dining hall that's in an existing building that was their existing dining hall, but we're updating them so that they're no longer just all-you-can-eat dining halls. So it'll have different venues within those spaces.
Just to confirm and sort of orient us around the dining options around campus in general, there's a Holy Grounds coffee shop in the Connolly Center currently that
Correct.
is open to the public?
There will not, and if we go through with this venue there, the coffee will be in that Wawa area. There will not be a separate Holy Grounds in there as well,
Okay.
one or the other.
And then the refectory restaurant, which is in a Villanova building, is also open to the public, right?
Yes.
And that square footage, I don't know, just guessing, is probably over 4,000 square feet?
The Holy Grounds or
The
the?
refectory?
Yes.
Okay. Just clarifying, thanks.
Okay. Anything else?
So, Mr. Drummond, Mr. Phillips, do you have any additional comments?
No, I don't have anything additional. The only question about the uses was just to be able to accurately calculate whatever the parking demand would be for the expansion. Everything else I'm good with.
Okay. Mr. Norsini, do you have any thoughts on the application itself?
So, to Mr. Phillips' points, not Mr. Rogers again tonight. Obviously, questions on the parking calculations, same thing as Mr. Drummond. And the other waiver is whether the commissioners see fit to recommend approval of preliminary approval. Preliminary fine.
Yeah, just recall that currently, Connolly Center, a large section's already devoted to retail use. Connolly Center, currently a large section's already devoted to this retail food use, which is going to be similar. Obviously, it has that name, but, it's a similar type use.
Could we get a little bit into the weeds? Sheet 7, walk us through the parking calculations on the table.
Can you enlarge that so they can see it?
Guess that doesn't blow up well, does it?
Yeah, we're trying to get it larger.
Is that a good size for everyone to read?
Oh, yeah, perfect, thank you.
See, this is campus-wide.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused as to the office part. So this is all campus-wide?
Yeah, campus-wide. On the one side, existing count, campus-wide. On the other side, 1,227 square feet additional office space. And that, because of they're over the 50,000, so it's 1 per 300. And that's, so they're showing 4 parking spaces required for that amount of office space.
Okay, and 34 spaces required for the other use?
Right.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. I guess for me,
Just put something in perspective. So Connolly Center right now, again, as Nick said, was built in 1980. It opened up with Bel Air Terrace, which is 3,000 square feet, kitchen. It's been feeding all of our students and our visitors for the last 45 years. So this really, we're replacing that with this operations of whether it's a Wawa or it's going to be Bel Air Terrace 2, we're not sure. And so in addition to that 3,000 square feet is also our holy grounds. That's all interior. So what Roger's talking about is a building permit that we're seeking right now for the renovations of existing Conley Center. This addition is just additional space off the front of this, which if anyone drives through our campus, you will see a tent there a lot because we use that as sort of a staging area for events that happen in the Villanova Room, which is a major auditorium in this building. So this is really to make a permanent structure out of that, and we're taking it up 2 stories so that we can increase, meeting space and satisfy some of the office space needs in this building. So that's really, I just wanted to put some context to this Wawa that's in here that, is super large, but we already have a food venue in there that is the same, probably square footage. Okay?
Sure. And we appreciate the context, or certainly I do. What's under consideration for me is the 2 of the 3 waivers, which is not to provide a TIS and also to combine the 2 approvals into one preliminary and final approval. And it seems to me that the use is not changing by much, and I think the sound of the Wawa, of course, raises some eyebrows for me. We've just went through that battle with the same council for 6 years. But really, it's a large project, and I think it would be customary for us to take it one bite at a time and consider granting preliminary approval first and not giving you final approval. Certainly, there are some things to do on the review letter. They're not substantial, but I think the BOC is going to have some questions, and certainly about the use, and we want you to be prepared for that. And my thought is that we should look at recommending preliminary approval and not doing preliminary and final.
MJ, if I can make a comment real quick regarding the traffic impact study and the waiver for that. My recommendation would be, it sounds like it's mostly pedestrians that are going to be using this facility. It doesn't sound like it's going to be heavy vehicle traffic. But at the same time, I think a trip to duration letter should at least be provided to state what's going to be at the center, given its potential use.
I have if I may, just wanted to zoom out a little bit. Is there an intention by Villanova University to update its master plan now that there are multiple campuses and different dynamics?
Yep. An update was presented to the Board of Commissioners a couple weeks ago, I believe. Okay. And we do, since now, you're right, because of Rosemont, we have to include that in there. And we're intending, I don't know if we have a timetable, Chris, for providing the written copy. We're hoping to do it quickly, I know. But there was a presentation made to the Board of Commissioners, but that was before Rosemont.
Mr. Drummond, could I just get a clarification of what you're requesting?
Sure, I'm asking for a trip generation letter which will state kind of what traffic will be provided at the university. We're not asking to do a large study area, but kind of at least acknowledge what trips are going to be made or what could be coming to the Conley Center, or if it's just going to be mostly pedestrian traffic.
Yep.
Mr. Cornelia, does that make sense?
We can do that. I just looked at Frank.
I had one
He's nodding his
clarification
head.
question. What's the dimensions of the existing Conley Center? How many square feet?
Do we have that? The whole building?
About 65,000 square feet.
65,000 was the comment.
Could I just ask, from the room reservation portion of the website for the Connolly Center. The largest room fits 500 in a lecture format. Is any of this addition expected to expand sort of event spaces or rooms that are available for rent? Okay. Thanks.
No.
Okay, any additional commissioner comment or public comment? No. Okay, I am going to make a motion. It would be a motion for preliminary approval, subject to the submission of a trip generation letter and cleanup of the additional comments on the two letters from Gannett Fleming and from Gilmore Associates. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
No, I think Stephen's opposed or abstaining.
Okay. Do we have any nays? Okay, one nay by Commissioner Varenhorst. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Just to clarify,
Yes, sir.
I think it should be a final, a preliminary final.
Was that? Yeah.
Understood, thank you.
Was that,
Commissioner
was
Knapp,
that,
did you have a question for Mr. Connery?
was that a condition on MJ's, or on your motion,
No,
Lane?
that was commentary on his nay vote.
Oh, okay. So was it preliminary recommended, or?
So preliminary
Okay,
was
okay,
recommended.
just so I know when we get-
Preliminary trip generation letter, clean
Yeah,
up the
got it,
comments,
got it.
come
All right,
back.
okay.
And we're giving you the waiver on the 500 feet.
And maybe when you come back, you'll also have the answer to what vendor or vendors you're going to be using.
And how many pumps?
Okay, do we have any new or old business? It doesn't look like it. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Skip,
We're
I think,
adjourned.
motion first. I think skip motion first.
It was motioned by conduct.
Okay. Thank you. Next scheduled meeting is May 5, 2025. Have a good evening.
Based on the NCAA finals tonight, I'm going to second the motion to adjourn.